Now that you've found YBN Radio and discovered our quality talk shows, it's time to spread the word to friends, family, and the universe. 24 hours of music and talk. Radio without limits. That's why people keep coming back for more. That's YBNradio.com.
Hey, good morning, everybody. Welcome back to the Larry Yates as Is show. As you can look and see with your very beautiful eyes, you can see this is he in the flesh. Hey, look, we got a good show today. We got a great show today. I'm coming from good, great, greatest, and all of that in a very meaningful show today. So you know how this hour go by so fast, and I guess I say that all the time, but it is. I just so enjoy being with you guys. Anyway, we are now in full election mode, I see. Yeah. Have you guys picked your guy yet? But anyway, lots going on out there in the politics, world of politics, and you know, we have the Democrats and Bernie and Hillary is neck and neck and battling it out there, and we have on the Republican side, I think we got Cruz and Trump and half the time I can't even think of these guys' name because I see their face, they frighten the hell out of me. But hey, that's me now. That's me. If you're Republican, I'm not gonna try to tell you who to vote for, and by no stretch of the imagination, but just vote sensible. Vote, but just try to vote sensible and with a little compassion. Don't just always vote your emotions out here. So I think we're living in a very serious time in this country, and I wished I could say that I was sorry to see Scalia go, but I think he stayed around a little bit too long, if you ask me. Anyway, having said that, now look, that's my personal opinion. I don't tell you how to feel about anybody. But this man clearly thought very little of black people. So I don't want to turn this into go get Scalia and I don't want to hear all this. But he's dead, and I'm supposed to feel sorry for him. No, that man pen and pencil will last for generations to come. You remember that pen and pencil. But now, having said that. And one of the things that bothers me about the Republican side is I just heard a report that all of these different hate groups has just sprung up. They're just all over the place. And as an African-American male, we was considered the most hateful of all the homophobes. But guess what? We are not out there killing gay people for the sake of killing gay people. The hate groups that are rising up in the country from hate Muslims, those are not black people. Hate women, those are not black people. The hate groups that has popped up that is hating gays are not black people. So you go and guess who do you think the ones that is growing these hate groups? And I say this especially about the gay community. And I'm going to address the gay community today. And I think this is a very powerful topic that my guest here today, I want you to welcome Dr. Joy Wassel, a great supporter of the show, and just been very dear to me. And Joy, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Larry. Thank you for having me.
So Joy, we're going to address some of the politics around what's going on in the LGBT. Am I put it? Was that correct? And the gay and lesbian community, and some of the struggles and the battles that goes on within that. And this, what Joy is talking about today, is an organization that she's been so involved in called Straight Spouse
Network.
and a Straight Spouse
Network.
Mm-hmm. And tell us about the Straight Spouse Network.
Okay, the Straight Spouse Network is an organization. It's a support organization for individuals who are heterosexual, who find that their partners were either gay, lesbian, or transgendered, and that in most cases, at the time they were involved with these spouses and got married, they did not know that their spouse was actually had a different sexual orientation than what they had. And often, most cases, the straight spouse ends up being blindsided to find out that the person they thought they married isn't the person they married. And so today we'll be talking about the experience of the straight spouse, which is a fallout of all of the prejudice against gays, because when gays are not free to marry and to mate with whomever they want to, they then try to be straight and marry straight people. And so we're kind of like the silent people in the background who are the recipients of homophobia without anybody even recognize that there is any involvement on our part in the whole conflict going on.
Well, thank you, because I've learned so much, and because being part of the American, I guess what I would call ignorance, not knowing as much about the backlash or the fallout within the gay and lesbian community, and how it has affected so many straight people. Because if I'm correct me if I'm wrong, because using the closet theory, in order for gays to stay in the closet, many of them didn't feel safe or free to be themselves. So many of them end up marrying, and then there was a price being paid because both people end up being hurt from the secret.
Exactly.
Now you have a guest with you here.
Yes, I do.
Today. Why don't you introduce your guest?
I'd like to introduce Sam Cheney. And Sam is an entrepreneur and businessman, and he is a former straight spouse. I wanted Sam to be with me because I represent the female straight spouses, and Sam represents the male straight spouses. And Sam is now happily married in a heterosexual relationship, so I call him a former straight spouse, and we're very happy about that.
Can we get an applause for Sam here? There we go.
There he is, yes.
Sam, are you with us?
Yes.
Yeah, thank you, Larry and Joy.
I'm so glad you're joining us, and this is this topic it's not new to me in the sense of knowing that it happened. What is new to me is how much damage has been done for gays and lesbians being forced into the closet, and these are some of the repercussion of that.
Could I interject something here? I wanted to also say that Sam is a board member of the Straight Spouse Network, and he's been very, very involved in being a support group to people who call in for the first time wanting support from the Straight Spouse Network. He's done an awful lot of work with them, and he's on the board.
Sam, tell us a little bit of what it's like when you get that call from someone for the first time. This is their first time opening up about it. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, they're usually very confused. They can be angry. They can be grief-stricken. But mostly they just want to know what's going on. They want to know, is there a chance that we can stay together? What's going to happen now? Has this ever happened to anybody else? Well, I'm so glad it's happened to somebody else I can talk to. But it's usually, yes, a matter of it's confusion, it's grief, it's anger, and it's relief in finding somebody that actually understands what's going on.
Sam, please, any question that I ask that you're not comfortable with, just please tell me. But may I ask you a question about when you first learned about the situation that you
No, certainly.
When you first learned about it, what was some of the conflicting emotion that you were going through?
Oh, there were a lot of them. In a way, and just stepping back, I had known that my wife was very unhappy for quite a while, and it had been building up, and I had no idea why she was unhappy.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times she'd say, well, if you just, do this, then everything would be fine. So I'd do this, and it didn't make any difference. And I was like chasing a moving target. So when she finally came out to me, it was a real mixture of, first of all, relief, because now I knew there was a name to the problem. I knew what was going on. But also, what had I been doing for the past 22 years? Who have I been? Who is this person that I was married to that, I apparently knew nothing about?
So let me ask you, do you doubt yourself in that moment?
I'm sorry?
Do you doubt yourself then?
I don't know if I doubted myself. I doubted my judgment, that's for sure. How could I not see that?
I would say that I doubted myself. I think people have different reactions. I've talked to some friends who, they just figured the problem was I'm speaking primarily from the female position. Some of my friends would say, well, it's not about me, it's about him. It's not, it's at least it's not my fault. For me, and I know that there are some people who do this, it's like I went through all kinds of doubt about, well, who am I? And if my husband likes men, then what does that make me? Am I less of a woman because my husband who likes men married me? Am I less attractive as a woman? Can I trust my judgment? I couldn't trust my partner, and then I couldn't trust myself and my judgment of myself. And so there's such a mixture of feelings and a mixture of responses to those feelings.
Sam?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry.
No, I want you to go ahead, please.
Oh, okay. Yeah, my self-doubt was more my own judgment. How could I not see it? I thought later, and a lot of straight spouses do this, why did she pick me? Did she pick me because maybe I was, naive enough that I would never notice or that sort of thing? But a lot of straight spouses will ask, well, why me? Why was I picked?
Well, if I ask any question that is not politically correct, or please feel free to check me on that. Mm-hmm. But let me ask you, do you? This is for both of you. Do you think you were in denial? Do you get people asking you that question a lot? Were you in denial? Were there signs that you saw that you just ignored the signs?
Sam, do you want to take that first?
I would say that I don't know if I was in denial as much as I had this mindset that, lesbians don't marry guys. They don't want to be with a guy. So, there were signs thinking back on it now, but I never connected it with that. It was, and I'll add one other thing that I've noticed with a lot of straight spouses is that the one question that they don't want to hear is, how could you not know?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, because, and unfortunately, that's the first thing that comes out of the mind of someone ignorant like myself, because I'm thinking, and, I have probably been in this situation and didn't even know I was in this situation, but I just wasn't married. And so my ego tells me, well, no, I would have known, I would have spotted it, and how could you not see the signs,
Mm-hmm. I think because I'm older, the culture was different too. We thought of homosexuality as a sickness at the time. And so when the signs were there, and I assumed that my husband had a sickness and that it was curable and that everything would be fine later if I just hung in there long enough. And I made the mistake of thinking it was scared out of him. Early in our marriage, he was arrested for having sex with a man in a car and went through a trial, and the judge found him not guilty. And we went on, and I assumed that with that kind of trauma, it would have been scared out of him and it would never happen again. That was in the first year we were married. So you could say I should know because I had the signs. But I didn't know because I thought it was an illness that was gone. And then when we were married 15 years, actually 14 years, he came out and told me he was bisexual. So then I'm thinking like, well, he's bisexual. That means he can meet, have relationships with either gender, and therefore we still have a chance at our marriage.
Well, I think you made a statement that I'm going to pick up on here, is that at one point in time you saw it as, and society saw it as an illness.
Yes, exactly. Mm-hmm.
And so by seeing it, Sam, did you see, are you part of the generation that thought it was an illness?
No. I hate to say I'm a little younger than Joy. Not a whole lot, but a little. And no, from early years, I realized that's just the way people were. And but in my own wife, she didn't. She was not, your stereotypical lesbian. She, seemed like a very normal woman. She didn't have any of the affectations that you would, the stereotype that you would see. So, I never saw anything, and she never really, until she came out, gave any inkling of that.
Mm. So let me ask you a question, but this is for both of you. Do you think part of the not picking up on different clues is that we look for what society has told us to look for?
Well, I think we look for what we expect to see.
I mean, but that part that we expect to see, is that kind of programming from society that if this person is a gay, they will act like this, and if they're lesbian, they would be like that? I don't know.
Well, I think Sam said it earlier. It's like if they're gay, they wouldn't have married us.
That's a pretty powerful statement, Sam. I have to tell you that's a pretty powerful statement there.
Oh, thank you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a pretty powerful. Let me ask you a question then. What made the two of you such advocates? Because I let me just say this, please. To me, if I'm wounded like that and looking at my ego being bruised, and then I'm pissed off at the gay community, not just at the one that I feel betrayed me. I'm pissed off at the gay and lesbian community. And what made you guys so passionate about being an advocate for that?
Well, I think people take either direction, and I think it depends on their personalities and their backgrounds and everything that's come before. It's like I saw it as I saw him and me as victims of our society. And so as a victim of the society, I couldn't get mad at him for what he did, but I was mad at the society that didn't make him safe to be who he was. Other people get angry like, well, you should be who you are regardless of the society, and then they get angry. And there are people who stay married for a long, long time, and then there are people who, I know of one woman, she found out and it was over, that's it. Mm-hmm. It's done. And I guess, Sam can speak to more of that because he has even more experience than I do with a variety of people.
Well, in getting back to your first question, why am I an advocate? Well, you know what? Yeah, I'm an engineer, so I look for, why is there a problem here? And the problem here is, I know with my own wife, that she had parents and she had society that said that she was supposed to get married and have kids and live in a house in the suburbs and, marry a guy with a, decent income that could let her be a stay-at-home mom. And she was maybe even convinced that that's really what she wanted. So again, like Joy said, it's more the mindset of society. It's mm-hmm. not the gay and lesbian community. They didn't come and recruit her. They didn't make her come out and change her and ruin my life.
Right. You know, Joy and Sam, this is so interesting. I'm getting text messages about the show. So I'm going to look at this text message, and I never do this, but I think this is important enough. I'm going to read this. Someone just. A question just came in, is that did they said getting burned, but let's say being hurt, and did this make you afraid to get into other relationships?
Oh, wow. I think that's absolutely the bottom line experience of everyone, at least from my experience. The biggest issue that comes up in nearly every single straight spouse meeting is the issue of trust. Is that once you have been betrayed like that, you don't trust anything or anybody for a long, long time, and maybe not ever. It's like I doubt my ability to make choices. I doubt, and I'm an educated woman, and it doesn't matter whether that has anything to do with it. It's like as a woman, I have lots of doubts about my ability to be attractive. I have lots of doubts about my ability to trust others, and I have lots of doubts about my ability to trust myself to know what is truth and what isn't. And it comes into everything I do.
Sam, what are some of the things that, thank you so much, Dr. Joy, for sharing that. And Sam, what are some of the things that you went through that you would share with us?
Again, I agree with Joy. You question everything after that. It's like everybody you meet, you wonder about. I mean, are you for real? Are you, are you being honest with me? Is there some ulterior motive?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, pretty much what Joy said. It's there is some doubt about, maybe not yourself, but so much as others. Getting intimate. I was really afraid to get involved, or that deeply involved, as deeply involved as I was with my wife. In that level of commitment, because of, you never know. And I've gotten over it since then, but it's been a long time for me.
Are you over it, do you think? Or do you think it's still...
Well, I think I have a pretty good relationship with my current wife, and I don't doubt her in the least.
Mm-hmm.
And,
well, let me ask you this then, Sam. Was there children involved?
Yeah. Yeah, when my wife came out, I had a son and a daughter. They were 14 and 11 at the time. So, yeah, there were.
And because I know with Dr. Joy that there was children involved in the house.
My children were, I think, 12 and 14 at the time.
Now, that has to be extremely tough to deal with there. Tell us a little bit about what should straight spouse do and when there's children involved.
Do you want to take that one, Sam? I don't want to touch it.
Well, yeah. In my case, my ex was maybe not the greatest wife in the world, but she was a very good mother. And in that respect, we didn't have too many problems as far as the kids go, except that we wound up being separated and eventually divorced. So we had the usual shuttle thing that which is never great for the kids. But we also were on fairly good terms, so they weren't forced into taking sides, that sort of thing.
I was going to ask you that. Do you find working with straight spouse, do the kids become like a pawn in this situation where the one is turning the other one against?
No, you're gonna see that in a lot of divorce situations. So there's no, it does happen in some cases, but you're going to see that in any kind of divorce situation. In some cases it's not a problem, and in some cases it's a very big problem.
I think that in my own relationship, I was an advocate for honesty. The big issue is how to tell children and when to tell them. And my husband didn't want our children told, and I didn't want our children to find out on their own, and I wanted them told. And so it's really difficult to know how to deal it and what the timing is. And ironically, one of my daughters felt like she really wanted to know and was not unhappy, and my other daughter felt like that somehow she wished she hadn't known and that we had waited until she was older to be told. So well, it's just hard on the kids, no matter what choice you make.
Okay, this is good. I got another text message here, a question here. Oh, Jerry, thanks, man. Thanks. What about dealing with family members and friends?
Well, in my situation, my husband didn't want anybody to know. And so in most situations, there's a book called The Other Side of a Closet by Amity Buxton, and another one by Francine Barbetta on a pebble in his shoe. And Amity's book has synopses of different people's experiences. Francine is about her experience. But it's like there's just so much going on. And I'm sorry, I just lost my train of thought.
Well, you were talking about how to, with family members and friends.
Oh, family members. My husband didn't want anybody to know. And so, as the book title implies, I went into the closet with him. And
that's pretty deep.
There were a couple people in our circle in a particular retreat center that knew about it. But other than that, we maintained the secret. Our family didn't know about it. We didn't come out, actually, till almost, we were married 42 years, and probably maybe around the 39th year or something, a couple of our family knew. And then the rest of the family and our closest friends didn't find out till I left my husband after 42 years of marriage.
Sam, would you like to speak to that?
Sort of similar. We stayed in the closet, so to speak, for quite a while, and mostly, and I honored her wishes. She wanted to until at least the kids were out of high school because she didn't want them getting, harassed and, bullied because of it. So none of our friends knew. They couldn't understand because we were the perfect couple, and all of a sudden we split up, and they figured I must be leaving her for my trophy wife or something. And except that I never showed up with one. But yeah, I told my family. My family lives kind of far away, so it didn't make too much difference. But she didn't really tell too many people in her family. So it was a big secret, and we had to keep it up for a long time.
Wow. Now I'm asking the two of you this question. This is more of a devil's advocate question, but do you think your silence perpetuated the problem?
Yes.
Wow. Now that's pretty heavy, Dr. Joy, to say that. Now Well,
you're in a dilemma because you want to be faithful to your partner if you think there's a chance for your relationship. You want to not bring on a lot of publicity and issues on your children for them to have to deal with. And so I made choices about what I thought I should do in the moment. And I also had struggles because I wanted to honor him. And everybody, if I would talk to people, the few people who knew about our situation, they would say, well, it's his secret. It's his to tell. It's not yours to tell. And yet it was a secret I was carrying too. And I would feel resentful that his secret was to be preserved and protected in his timing, and that I was supposed to just sit back and wait. So I had some resentment about that.
That's powerful. Sam, is there hurt that you felt did you feel pressure into holding the secret from your wife or society, or what was the balance between the two?
Well, I mean, I felt the pressure, and the pressure was probably from society. Like I said, my big motivation is I didn't want my kids bullied because, that happened. You don't want to stand out in high school. You don't want to stand out in the wrong way. You know what I mean?
That's true.
And I mean, one part of me wanted to go buy a billboard on the main drag of our hometown and announce it to the world.
Amen.
And and the other part was, okay, I gotta worry about the kids. And essentially, once my youngest son went to college, I told all our friends. I didn't care what she said. I just told all our friends. That's what happened.
Well, now, both of you, please correct me if I'm wrong, but I can't see that going through this level of betrayal not making you angry, and then on top of the anger, you are now you are forced into keeping it a secret, but that doesn't stop the anger from building. What did you do? How did the anger manifest itself in a negative way in your life?
Actually, you can talk about denial here if you want to. I think we all have different personalities, and I'm not one who is quick to do a lot of the anger stuff. I went into protective mode of my husband and my children. And I cannot say that I really felt a lot of anger, overt anger. Man, I would have moments of it and stuff. But for the most part, I felt protective of him. I felt like he was a victim. And I didn't really feel anger for him till after he died. And then about a year or so after he died, I was just filled with this rage, that I had been betrayed for 15 years and that I had spent the next 20-some years trying to live out a legacy that I didn't have any part in creating.
Let me rephrase. Sam, may I rephrase the question just a little
Sure.
bit? Working with straight spouse organization, I'm sure you witness people that is going through levels of anger. And how do you see that anger manifesting itself that you will warn other new straight spouses to stay away from, to be careful of, to be conscious of?
I guess just to back off, the Straight Spouse Network is how I vented mine. With the local group that meets and plus some online groups that we have, I was able to get that out there. I was able to, tell people who understood what I was feeling, and so it didn't really manifest itself in regular daily life. Now, what I tell people in this situation is that it's okay to be angry. What it's not okay to do is nurse your anger. You got to get it out. You got to get past it. You can't nurse it, because if you nurse it, it turns into bitterness, and you're just going to be a bitter person for the rest of your life. You got to get it out, and you got to get past it. And you got to find a safe way to get it out.
So the Straight Spouse Network has been really home for you, and you see the good that and I just want to thank you guys for this, Sam. I really want to thank you guys for being on the show here today, and Dr. Joy putting the show together, and because I'm learning so much, and there's this particular need just went completely over my head. I had no idea of the magnitude of this, and I just want to thank you guys so much for that. When you do you find more young people coming into the organization now?
More and more.
Even in this day and time?
In this day and time, I think what's happening is that all of a sudden, barriers are dropping. It's becoming more acceptable. So a lot of times, at least when I first joined, that was about 15 years ago, a lot of times it was people in middle-age crisis that, just couldn't take it anymore. They couldn't hide anymore. They had to come out. Now, it's younger people who, are realizing that it's safe to come out without reaching a crisis point. So we are getting younger and younger people approaching us. A lot of people. It's very rare to see anybody in their 20s and 30s way back when, but now you get a lot of people in their 20s and 30s that are contacting us.
I don't know about all the groups of straight spouses. This is an international organization, so they're all over the world. But in the particular group that I belong to, we have had it was like a dropping off of membership for a while, and then after the Supreme Court decision came out, there's been an upsurge of people coming out, and then the spouses coming to the organization for support with it. And when I first joined the organization back in 2005, we were all like kind of, my age group. In that age group, a lot of people married 30 years or more, and then their spouses came out. And now in our group, we now have a lot more young people coming out. Marriages that were only 2 and 3 years old, and then the spouse comes out and tells who he is. Or her. Well, or who she is.
This time is going by so fast. So we're gonna, Sam, I want you to stay with us. We're gonna take a musical break here, and we have a song here that I wrote and produced a few years ago along this topic, and Dr. Joy asked me to make sure that I play this song. So.
Looking forward to it.
What?
Can we go to another woman took over?
Same sex.
Same sex level, same thing. Yeah. Okay. So Java's gonna play it, and we'll be right back.
This message is for all you fellas out there that's been bragging about how bad you are with the ladies. You're banging the headboards, you're standing up in it, you're candy licking, and you think you're a bag of chips and all of that, even with your Viagra. I used to think the same way, but now I got another story for you fellas. Check this out. I'm sitting here, she's on my mind. I ain't thought things were fine. Then suddenly my world was darkened, cold and empty inside. My baby's been hiding the secret of love. It crushed my world. She's with another girl. Same-sex lover, same gender, oh well. Another woman took my girl. I was blind, I just couldn't see. Same-sex lover took my woman from me. Bang bang in the headboards, I was standing up in it. The show that I gave just wasn't the ticket. And then suddenly my world was darkened, cold and empty inside. My baby's been hiding the secret of love. She crushed my world. She's with another girl. Same-sex lover, same gender, oh well. Another woman took my girl. I was blind, I just couldn't see. Another woman took my woman from me.
Same-sex lover, same gender, oh wow.
Another woman took my girl.
Same-sex lover, same gender, oh wow.
Another woman took my girl. And then suddenly my world was darkened, cold and empty inside. My baby was hiding her secret of love. It crushed my world. She's with another girl.
Same-sex lover, same gender, oh wow.
Another woman took my girl.
We are back. And let me turn this off. I can't believe people. Thank you. Wow.
Good song there, Larry.
Well, when I did that song, I did a song a few years ago, and Sam radio station refused to even air it. It was considered so controversial then. And now I got a few stations that is just calling like crazy. But thank you anyway. Sam, I told you this. By the way, I was telling Joy when we was off the air there how wonderful you guys are doing. I mean, I know you was a little bit nervous there at first, but how you feel now?
I'm feeling good, thanks.
Yeah.
What's on your mind now, Joy? Tell.
No, I just wanted to make sure that everybody has access to the website. Sam, your email address is being displayed, and my email address is being displayed, so that people have support to call in. And the most important one, of course, is straightspouse.org. And this organization, if you go online, you can page through the website, and it'll show you different places and areas, and hopefully you'll be able to find a support group in your area and get the help that you need in order to know that you're not alone, that there's nothing wrong with you, that your feelings are normal, that we all go through this and we all survive. And
would this come under the heading of family therapy?
No. A support group is not about therapy as much as it is just support. It's just a place to talk about how you feel, to hear how other people feel. Sometimes there might be some exchanges of information in terms of whether or not, somebody might be going through a divorce, but it's basically just a place to be heard. It's just a place where you're free to go and investigate how you feel and share how you feel and make your decisions based on your life. Some people sometimes feel that there's pressure that if they join the organization, they have to leave their spouse, and they don't. The support is to figure out what you want to do to make this the most viable life that you can make it for yourself. And so if it means staying in your relationship and trying to work that out, that's up to you. If it means leaving your relationship because that's what your integrity requires, that's up to you too. But it is strictly a support group, and it is not intended to make any judgments or to push anybody for any particular decisions in any direction.
Now, Sam, she used a word there that I'm going to pick up on, judgment. Is that a big part of the problem that the spouse go through judgment?
The judgment as far as other people judging you.
Yes, yes.
Or
society or other people.
The other spouse.
Yeah.
It is to a point. Like I said, I mentioned this before. Last thing in the world you want to ask a straight spouse is, how could you not know? And there is some, I guess. How could you be in that situation? And there's also, for a guy, it's like, okay, she didn't dig you, so she must be a lesbian, right? And things like that. So it's, I'm not sure what I'm trying to say here.
But I get the point. I think you made it clearer than you may realize, because for the sake of time, let me ask you, how do you approach this conversation in a marriage or in a relationship? How do you approach this conversation?
They can be as varied as, there are people. I mean, some people come out and just blurt it out. Some people like my husband took 15 years to talk about it.
Well, no, I mean from the person that is suspecting that their lover or their spouse is gay. And I mean, how do you approach that? The reason I asked that, I'm sorry, go ahead, Sam.
I was going to say that's a tough one, and go on.
Because I remember, we African American males are labeled as the most homophobe of all, but we are not the one that's starting these hate groups out here, as I said earlier. But I do remember that had my girlfriend approached me with that, I would have been devastated. That probably would have been the end of the relationship right then because of my ego. Being honest, because of my ego involved, and then not feeling trusted by my partner. So that's a delicate
Yes.
situation there I mean, my goodness. You want to talk about?
If the spouse doesn't come out, if the gay spouse doesn't come out, especially for the guys, for the women, if the gay spouse is a guy, you'll see in some of the groups, some of the SSN groups, and actually we have a public forum also off the Straight Spouse Network website. A lot of them will deny it. I mean, it doesn't make any difference how much proof. You look in the cell phone and you see all these texts, or you look in the spouse's email and you see he's on Craigslist and he's looking for M-Dam hookups, and they'll just deny it, and they'll continue to deny it. So it's a very tough thing, and a lot of especially I'm talking about the gay men here. We'll get very adamant and sometimes very angry. So it's a tough thing to approach. If your spouse doesn't come out to you, if your spouse comes out, then you don't have to worry about it. But if your spouse is in denial, then it's a very, very tough thing.
And there's a lot of crazy making going on, because there's nothing worse than telling a person that what they think and what they know in their hearts or what they suspect or intuit, telling them that they're crazy, that they're making this up. The phrase comes to me, the best defense is a strong offense. And so if someone comes and says, I think I'm wondering if you're gay, and they come back with this whole barrage of all of this animosity, and then they make you look like you're the crazy one for even asking the question. And I think that's just so, messing with somebody's mind is like the worst thing you can do. Absolute worst thing you can do.
So I guess that's where the loss of so much trust comes in.
Mm-hmm.
Am I right?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can see the loss of trust there. I mean, if you someone is in denial and now you're being made to feel like you're making stuff up, or you're out of your mind, you losing your mind, and you're not seeing what you say you're seeing, and blah, blah, blah. And then it becomes a good challenge of your sanity.
Oh, absolutely. Your sanity is challenged. Very much so. Very much so. I think that there are some similarities, when we talk about marital infidelity in a traditional marriage, that can drive, a person crazy when their partner is denying what's going on. There is that extra level of craziness, though, when you're not only dealing with infidelity, but you're dealing with infidelity and a whole different gender identity.
Straight Spouse Network. Sam, we're at the end of this show. I told you this thing was going to go by real fast. As you can see, it's on the screen. And Sam, give a good word of wisdom as quick as possible as we close the show to the listeners that might be going through this.
Well, if you might be going through the Straight Spouse Network, is a great place to go. You'll find people that get it. Most other people don't get it, and there's plenty of ways you can find support if you go to our website.
Okay, thank you, Sam. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Sam.
And Joy, would you be a friend of the show, Sam? Joy, would you leave us with a few words?
I just think that the important thing is to remember that this is a devastating experience to go through, that in marriage infidelity and in straight spouse infidelity in particular, you can reach levels equivalent to PTSD. And the important thing to remember is that each day will get better. It's slow. It hurts a lot, but you'll get better.
Thank you so much. This has been great. Thank you, Sam. Thank you, Joy. Kindness. Yeah, thank you so much. Remember, kindness, compassion, love. Above all, try to understand each other and listen with deep listening to one another. And we will get there wherever that there is in our life. We will get there. Well, let's learn to listen, sit down, and understand with kindness, love, joy, and happiness. Anyway, remember, a nation can rise no higher than it elevates its woman. This is Larry Yates. Boom. See you next week.